So like, we all remember the Mario movie. I think it has been one of those modern movies where it feels that everyone has seen it. I mean, how could they not? It was an adaptation of the most iconic video game character ever, and everything made it look so promising and faithful. It got the animation community excited to see an Illumination movie, for God's sake. But man, did it seem like the movie took forever to come out. Like, I was about to enter college when it was announced, and it came out the year when I graduated. But yeah, it seems like it would have been a dream come true and looked promising, and plenty of others must have thought so. I still remember the buzz on social media when the VAs were announced and people thinking it was going to be terrible until the teaser trailer made everyone do a 180 on the movie, and most other trailers helped that too. It definitely was a wild ride to the hype, and the reactions afterwards were kinda mixed. When it came out, a lot of people loved it, saying it was everything they've wanted, but also many people complained about things like lack of story or character growth. And it caused a lot of disputes and fights with people arguing the movie was great and people are being unfair, and others saying the movie is overrated with no substance. I also should mention a lackluster critical score before the movie came out, which also led to a ton of heated discussion on if critics would be viable here. And it's nice to know that the idea that negative film critiques shouldn't be applied depending on how the fandom is against it still became relevant after. But now when the movie is practically a year old and the hype is long gone, how does it hold up? What are our feelings long after the discussions have mostly concluded? I really want to get into it, especially since I only made my channel after the movie came out. And also, I apologize if a lot of this seems to be a common consensus people have, or at least a consensus. And what better time than Mario Day? At least I hope this video comes out on Mario Day, if not, I'm sorry. Now, I'm sure pretty much everyone here has seen the movie. Again, it's one of those everyone has seen it type things. But just a reminder, Mario and Luigi are upstart plumbers in modern day Brooklyn, down their luck until they uncover some secret warp pipe under the city's sewer system that separates both, as Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom and Luigi ends up in Bowser's Kingdom. Mario is taken by Toad to see Princess Peach, who thinks they're the key to help them save her kingdom from Bowser, who is invading. Bowser, meanwhile, captures Luigi and seeks to use the power of the superstar he stole to dominate the kingdom and get Peach's hand in marriage. Peach eventually trains Mario to get used to the action of the fantasy world as he takes him and Toad to go to the Kongs to get their help in the war. But their King Cranky refuses until Mario challenges their greatest warrior to a fight, aka Donkey Kong, who's a lot more hot-headed and egotistical. DK thrashes Mario until he gets the upper hand with the power-up and defeats them, as Cranky reluctantly goes to aid the kingdom. They all get ambushed by Bowser's forces and are kidnapped. DK and Mario are separated as Peach has to reluctantly marry Bowser to save her kingdom. But DK and Mario manage to join back and fight through Bowser's army, as in the wedding, Peach double-crosses Bowser and attacks them. As the gang all meet up and Mario saves Luigi, but before Bowser tries to destroy the kingdom with a bonsai bill. But Mario instead gets to blow up in the warp zone, which somehow sends them all to the real world Brooklyn. Bowser goes on a rampage, but Mario and Luigi work together, taking the superstar to thrash Bowser and his army and prove themselves as heroes to the real world. As the ending implies that the two now live in the Mushroom Kingdom. Now, it's a perfectly fine plotline, simple but effective enough, but it's a source of contention I'll get to later. First, I want to talk about the characters and how they were executed. Now, with the most arguably controversial, Mario. It's pretty much entirely around their voice actor Chris Pratt. People did not like the samples from the trailer, which took one of the most iconic voices in gaming to literally just his normal voice. And yeah, even I thought it wasn't good when it came out. But after the movie, for the interpretation of the character, it was fine enough. He still had Mario-esque energy with him being an optimistic yet goofy unorthodox hero with shining bravery. But his casting really did feel like just getting a big name than someone who could fit the character. Nice to know nothing has changed. For the character himself, he does feel like a pretty decent version of a new, more fleshed out Mario with new backstory, family, and feelings. Also, am I the only one who was flabbergasted seeing Mario's family? It just felt like something that shouldn't exist. He's definitely still fun and likable. It makes me seriously hate those people who constantly say Mario's boring because he doesn't have some extreme personality trait. Luigi though had a lot more love for the community since he's played by Charlie Day, who captures the character much better than Chris Pratt, having that high dorky energy of the Green Plumber. The character itself is pretty accurate, being clumsy and dorky and also having plenty of moments to show off their cowardice, but the brothers' bond is still there and very palpable. However, like a lot of people have said, Luigi has gotten shafted through most of the story. Not like it's not accurate to the games, but still. For such an iconic pair, it shows how underused he is in the narrative. I know they had to use him as the captive instead of Peach for Mario's motivation, but still feels like he should have done something. Even the concept art showed him trying to break out. I think it would be a lot stronger than what we got. But on the topic of damsels, we got Princess Peach. Now a lot of people hate he's now a strong-willed fighter unlike the sweet girly girl she was in the games, and to that I say, who the hell cares? I'm sorry, but this is so much a better change. Peach before was barely a character, and she was nothing more than a damsel in distress to kiss Mario at the end, and decades after decades, it got so tiring. I'm so glad that the Mario series has stopped this and it made her an active character. It's so much better. I love seeing her in the action and taking charge herself, especially since she's getting her own game. And I enjoyed seeing her as an active character in this movie. And if you think this is a brand new thing, please look at other Mario media. She still had her lighter moments and did legitimately feel like a strong ruler of her kingdom, which is honestly something the games kind of lack. Anna Taylor-Joy did a pretty okay job with the performance for this version of Peach, but like Chris Pratt, it wasn't anything too special. Though it does make me wonder, what if instead Peach was written as a pure kill him with kindness character like her version in Subspace? Just wonder how that would be. But okay, Jack Black as Bowser stole the show. He was the one that people had the buzz for, and yet he was honestly perfect. Bowser's kind of a hard character to pull off. He's supposed to be a huge, intimidating villain, but at the same time, he's shown to be a dopey meathead who hides a lot of insecurities. Of course he gets down the goofy side of him, but he does an amazing job with Bowser's intimidation factor, having frankly the perfect voice for the guy.
I do not.
Years of searching for the superstar, it is finally ours! Find out who he is and what they're planning!
Seriously, how is he better than the actual voice of Bowser in Sunshine?
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation? The water's great, hey Junior?
I normally don't like celebrity casting, but man, Jack killed it here. Other characters though, Toad was alright I guess. It was kinda weird for this version as a brave, fearless adventurer when his game counterpart is so basic, but I guess it was fine enough even if he didn't do much. People joke about Seth Rogen characters a lot, and yet he does do his usual voice. And for DK, it seems very weird. I mean, DK with the voice in general is weird to me, but they did write him a lot more as some cocky jock teenager who can butt heads with Mario, and honestly in that regards, it was a pretty decent performance, and does elevate it more than the usual generic Hollywood casting his roles are. I also kind of find it interesting that they made Cranky Kong the king of the Kongs, but honestly it kind of works in a way. I even like how they add some of the DK crew even for small cameos to make the fans happy. But on the other hand, I really want to know why they brought Spike back. Foreman Spike is such a forgotten character, and it's weird they would bring him back. He's really just a generic bully in the beginning of the movie, and kinda shows up in the end when they save the day. But he's so insignificant, he didn't really add much to the movie, so I wonder why they bothered. Also, the Luma too, they just seem to exist for jokes about the juxtaposition to saying dark and depressing stuff. They didn't do anything in the movie. And the fact that it's a Luma is weird since Rosaline is not seen or mentioned. Like, I really thought it was gonna set something up, but it just didn't, and it's weird. Also, why they not made this one Toad Toadsworth? Like, come on, he acts exactly like them. Why is Nintendo trying to get rid of him? He would have been perfect here. Okay, but let's go into really good things about the movie aside from some of the characters. First and foremost, the animation. I gotta say, it's such eye candy. The Mario world thrives on wonder and imagination, and that truly becomes amazing here. The Mario world has never looked so good before. Cinematography in the huge landscapes with weird designs and architecture with fantastic lighting and colors makes the world feel so truly alive, and unlike the small amounts of what the games had. It feels so incredibly immersive and beautiful. You can get lost in the details forever. I think it's one of the movie's strongest assets that's undebatably stellar. Speaking of the little details, there are so many callbacks to the series, from everything from nods to the series in major or minor ways, to the relevant fan culture, to just referencing the larger Nintendo world as a whole. It's really something you love to see. It really shows the love and care the creators had to the series to go the extra mile when they really didn't have to make the fans happy. And like bringing back the Super Show theme just for those who grew up on it since it wasn't even in Japan, it's so great and fit in perfectly. And there's so many of these you can't notice them on a single watch. Also, to mention the music, it's just so fantastic. The orchestral rearrangement of multiple iconic tracks in the series is so mesmerizing and beautifully made together, it's heaven for the ears and to a Mario fan. It's so great, the soundtrack to this movie is amazing. Well, minus the thing everyone complains about, which yeah, I'll get to soon enough. I also gotta appreciate that they try to add in more world building and characterizations that are non-existent in the Mario universe, like giving Peach a backstory, giving Mario a family, and even just explaining any of the lore of the series, like how the Mushroom Kingdom exists separate from our world. Again, taking a lot of surprising influence from the Super Show of all things. I'd even argue that it does explain a lot of the weirdness of the Mario world to newcomers like the power-ups. I mean, there were to begin with, and even in canon aren't explained, but they're shown a way people can get. Okay, so eating a red mushroom makes you big, so then eating a blue mushroom makes you small. Okay, it makes sense. A red flower gives you fire powers, and a blue one gives you ice. It makes sense. And yeah, not to mention how good the animation and big the fight scenes are. There's such great energy and momentum and carry the energy of actually playing the games. There's such good parts of the movie I love. But what about the parts that people don't like and have caused a lot of arguments over? This is kind of the big thing. I'll get to the stuff I'll defend. I've seen a lot of people complain that Peach was too much of a girl boss and she was better at Mario in the training course. But like, she lived in the Mario world her whole life. Of course it's gonna be better than the guy who just got there an hour ago. It's honestly even impressive that Mario got as good as he got from one night of training. And people complain that Peach should have been captured instead of Luigi, but that really wouldn't work in the narrative. Mario wouldn't have a reason to risk his life to meet someone he just met, and it makes sense that Peach would effectively be Mario's guide. I don't really see it working that way unless they fundamentally change the whole story. And yeah, the story, I do have some gripes, but I'm not a guy who really takes these things as huge movie-breaking issues like a lot of other people. I'll get to the big one later, but there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't feel too congruent with it. I feel a lot of the intro, especially the stuff with that dog, was kind of a waste of time. People already are just wanting to go through the Mario stuff, but it just feels so unlike what the rest of the movie is, and honestly feel like some Illumination writing in like it's some Secret Life of Pets B-roll. I don't know why it's here. Speaking of which, like a lot of people say, it does have Illumination's weird 90s music obsession with I Need a Hero and especially Take On Me put in that feel out of place, especially compared to the rest of the really great orchestral Mario remixes. But thank God we got the amazing Superstar remix for the climax instead of Jump like the studio wanted, because that nearly happened. A good chunk of the movie is spent trying to get the Kong army to help Peach, but they pretty much do nothing and get captured practically as soon as they appear, so they kind of add nothing to the narrative aside from getting DK to join the group. I also just kind of find the Kongs weird to add in a Mario movie to me. They do feel like they've separated themselves from the main Mario series so much that it kind of feels forced to add them here. Especially since they also now have a huge card culture that feels kind of random. In that same vein, the cards also feel weirdly forced and unexplained. It's just a lot to take in that doesn't even really work for Mario or this world, and just exists to have Mario Kart scenes. As much as I like the Rainbow Road sequence, it did really feel out of place in the narrative. Kind of feels like a good chunk of the movie was pointless. As much as I did like the small bits of character interactions, I do feel they didn't do enough with them or flesh them out like they could have. I really love the Fire Flower Field scene or the interactions Peach and Mario have on Rainbow Road. I just wish they had a minute or two of extra screen time. But at the same time, I feel they weren't allowed to. These aren't original characters, they're established and famous ones with a tight grip of how they're depicted. I think it's amazing we got this much. But it does hurt the story a bit. Not really sure how I feel about DK and Mario's relationship, since they have this big rivalry but also kind of friendship. They have one scene where they kind of reconcile with how their dads were disappointed in them, but it's subverted by still having them argue, which I don't know if that's a refreshing subversion or a missed opportunity. And as much as I said the power-up system made sense, having the cat suit out of nowhere makes the system much more confusing to newcomers, even if it was perfect to beat DK with. Minor thing, but I find it with the Bowser going to kill Luigi and the others as a sacrifice. Like, that feels out of place. Is there an unseen coup of religion? Why can't they just say they want to get rid of all its enemies in one go? I get that. Also, the climax does hint on more unexplained rules like the bonsai bill sucking the Mario world into Brooklyn for the final battle. I know why they did it, but it just makes things more confusing. And Luigi having a big part in the ending was satisfying to see them in action, but it felt kinda weird since Luigi was shafted in so much of the movie and didn't have the same training Mario did. But okay, there's the big problem. People say the narrative is too simple and wasn't good as a movie, so doesn't explain enough about the world nor develop the characters much. Now on the one hand, I do genuinely hate how the animation community pretty much demands huge epic stories now, but I've really gotta wonder how valid that is. I'd argue that the plot really isn't as simple as people say it is and that they're just dumbing it down a lot, but does the movie have to prioritize being a movie or being an adaptation? Thing is, this is an adaptation of Mario. Mario does not have complex lore or character growth. It's entirely a fantastical adventure in every game. It's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. It's practically the entire point of it. If you give Mario a huge complex plot, then it's not really Mario, is it? Like, take the 90s movie that was a complete plot mess and ended up being nothing like Mario. I've already gone over my gripes with the story, but for the most part, I'll admit, they're just nitpicks and most of the story was fine as it is. It definitely felt like Mario in pretty much every regard. It was definitely a faithful adaptation. People say it wasn't a good enough movie. I don't really know if there's a correct answer to that. It's not like something like BioShock, which is practically a cinematic movie already that can easily be adapted to screen. You can't really give Mario complex writing without ruining what the spirit of Mario is. Can Mario really have huge shocking plot twists and turns and still feel like Mario? Can the characters have incredible trauma that leads to character growth and still feel like Mario? I don't really think they could go that way. And I gotta give credit that even if the movie couldn't be much of a movie, they did try their best to make it feel like Mario, and I think that's important. And with the primary audience it was made for once, they could make it more streamlined, but then it's not really Mario. I think that's a really good point about that in a statement made by the creators. When trying to make up the Mario world in the movie, the creators had an idea that the Toads mined an element called Floatanium and used them for construction, hence the floating bricks and platforms. It is an explanation, but then suddenly the world becomes a lot less magical. All of the iconic bricks and blocks of the world suddenly have a concrete explanation for it. It makes the world feel so less wondrous and more manufactured. It deprives of the whimsy of the world. And you can argue that whimsy is the most important part of Mario, like this picture perfectly encompasses. And furthermore with how great Mario Wonder was. I made a full video on it that people really should see. It's one of my favorite videos I've done. But so much of what made that game great was that it brought back the wonder of the world, with new life and environments and gameplay around unexpected things happening just because. And it was such a fresh breath of air after the new series made the Mario world feel stale and lifeless. And yet, the newcomers to the series, so much of the movie feel unexplained or simplified. Most people I feel just chalk it up to, it's a magical world with its own rules, but if everything got explained for everyone to understand, then it stops becoming Mario. If we give characters concrete past, it kind of ruins their charms and might not be considered canon. And even then, people who play and know the games know that not much is explained even then. In the end, this is how Mario is. Now, I said my regrets of the story, and no doubt things could have been changed to the narrative to make it stronger, but I do think that making the story much more complex and deep would not work for the series they're trying to make. Would it really be worth making a more conventional movie if it meant sacrificing what makes Mario special? I don't think it is. It felt like the perfect adaptation of the Mario world to the big screen, and that it did as much as it can with the narrative. Is it perfect? No, it's not. And yeah, the plot can be stronger, but any movie can be better. I never liked that critique. For a Mario fan, it's pretty much everything you'd want. It's like a Mario game. You don't complain that the Mario game's narrative was lacking or there's no character growth. It's about the adventure and the fun and the charm. And it's a very fun movie. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Can't we just have a fun movie? Does everything to be a huge, ultra compelling epic? I really don't like that mindset people have, and I seriously wish people would stop it and become much more open. And I am so excited to see what the franchise can do with the whole Mario world. It's definitely gonna be a fun time. And please tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please let me know. I really want to know. Leave your comments. Thank you, and goodbye.
It's Rainbow Road, it's where you